Good morning. Welcome back to our next section today on Education and You. Today we will be discussing extra lessons, and that's the article that was posted in the Starbuck News 2015 edition. Today with us we have Naomi Kizinga Bacchus, Hubert Boucher, and Jamana Cyrus. We will be discussing a little more about this article. And Sir Hubert, can you give us an introduction on this article?
Sure, miss. Our educational system has evolved into one in which everyone is fighting for academic performance, better schools, and to see who can be the best in the country. It is no longer about discovering what one has truly learned, but more about what one can recall and how many A's learners can achieve. As a result, extra lessons, also known as supplementary education, have grown into popularity in particularly all Caribbean nations, including Guyana, since students engage in extra lessons on a big scale. Dr. Rupert Rupnarain, in his article published on June 28, 2015 by Starbuck News, he was cited saying, "My own feeling is that we have to ensure that the kind of experience in the classroom make extra lesson a thing in the past," unquote. Dr. Rupnarain, in his comments, opposes extra lessons which were being focused on the teachers, parents, and educational stakeholders. Teachers, it could not have been said any better.
All right, thank you, sir. So, Ms. Bacchus, can you give us a summary of the article?
Yes, definitely. So, in a nutshell, the article Extra Lessons speaks on Dr. Rupert Rupnarang, the Ministry of Education point of view on the administration of extra lessons. He believes that extra lessons can be avoided. He feels that classroom experience should eliminate the need for further teaching outside of class timings. But his predecessors still need to address the issue. And this was written in the Starbuck News paper 2015, as Mr. Boucher has mentioned earlier. He also believed that the main reason is that of the exam-driven culture opposed the education-driven society, where teachers' main goals are teaching the pupils to pass examination. And he refers to this in the article as the extra lesson syndrome. The extra lesson syndrome manifests in three stages: the grade 2 and 4 assessment, the grade 6 assessment, the National Secondary School Education Certificate in secondary schools, and the Caribbean Advanced Proficiency Examination known as SCAPE. The NGSA, or the National Grade 6 Assessment, and the CSEC examination attract the lessons in an higher number than in the other grades, that is the grade 2, the grade 4, and so on. Assessment, since every 11-year-old is expected to write a placement examination and English and mathematics are compulsory subjects at the CSEC level.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bacchus. So we can all agree that we are on the same track when we say that in an exam-driven culture, students will seek to receive additional instructions with aim to strengthen their exam performance and ultimately their prospects of receiving a better education.
Yes, definitely.
All right, good. So let's go a
That is
little
so
more
true.
into the text and let's critique it a little. Like, what was the goal of the text?
Um, the goal of the text was to eliminate the extra lessons in Guyana public school system and to also identify factors that contribute to the extra lessons in public schools here in Guyana.
All right, great. Thank you. Does the text achieve the goal?
Definitely, the text achieved the goals by identifying factors that promotes extra lesson and affects the elimination of such.
So sorry, Hubert, was it created? Was this text created for a general public or a specific audience?
To be sure, miss, I must say when Dr. Rup Narayan created this article, his main goal was to target parents educational stakeholders, and teachers.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Is it breaking new areas or does it follow a pattern in its field, Miss Cyrus?
I think this article, it had article before it written on extra lessons and article after. So I would say it's not breaking new areas, but it's actually developing on old ones.
Great, that does make sense. Are there any significant weaknesses or limitations to the text?
All right, so for weaknesses, I think yes. And the first one that I want to identify is the one where the minister said that he's hopeful that the extra lessons, when you use the word hopeful, is as though well, in a case that he's not in the position to actually eliminate it. And I'm thinking as a minister of education, you should be in position to actually say what should and should not happen in your educational system. So I'm thinking that that's a kind of weakness in the text. And one of the other thing is where he actually talk about the placements exams, and these exams were created, especially the NGSA, to place students into schools. And these placement exams, I think they can be reduced, like in the case of having two subjects in the case of primary, maths and English, like other Caribbean countries. And it can also even allow the secondary school students who's writing the CSEC exams to actually limit them to amount of subject being written. And probably that can eliminate or reduce the amount of extra lessons that they're having in the schools.
Thank you very much, Miss Cyrus. That is so true.
Miss Cyrus, what are the strengths of this article?
All right, so let's talk about the mood. The mood, it was formal, and the style of writing, which was logos, where the author or Dr. Rupert tried to reach out to the logics in the old examination case, where he said, well, examination straight from examination to an assessment would probably reduce the amount of extra lessons. And what they really think that he targeted different parties, like in the case he targeted the parents, saying that the parents are the ones who are paying for the outside lessons because they want the children to do better. That is true because, yeah, parents want the children to get an A grade school. All of us want that to happen. The next one he targeted is the area with the teachers, when he said that teachers are doing it for the monetary funds because their salaries are not sufficient enough to help them with their needs and what they need to do. And therefore, and even if, as he said before, he pleaded on the Ministry of Finance to increase their salaries, it still wouldn't have been raised to the amount that the teachers actually get for the lessons. And that was true also. In the next thing, you talk about the NGSC and CSEC exams that I think is very, very important, as Ms. Bacchus would have stated before, because these NGSC and CSEC exam is like as though it's placing the children in the place they need to be so that they can be successful adults. And as in the case of the NGSC, where they have the A grade schools having more educators, more facilities that can help the children to develop their educational grounds. And when you get to the AS grade school, it's better and you see it a lot in Guyana. And in the case of CSEC, when they get to the A grade school, you find a lot of learners in the A grade school. They excel a lot. They get like 13, 18 subjects, which is a lot compared to the other schools in Guyana, especially secondary school. Also, one important thing that the criteria to get a job in Guyana, you need to have that CSEC grade or at least 5 or 4 subjects. And if you don't get that, it is you won't get a job. So some of the strengths were this, and these are things that I think that the minister made points and is very, very important so that learners and educators should take to look into and take seriously.
Thank you very much for that piece of fruitful information there, Miss Cyrus. And are there any potential implications of this text?
Yes, there are some potential implications, and I will talk about two quickly. The first one meaning that where the education officers, they are expecting the children, all 11-year-olds, to write the NGSA exams. And I'm focusing this because learners develop at different levels, and we will know that from John Piaget and from Sigmund Freud when they talk about the development stages of learners, and we say that learners, they develop at different stages based on their experiences, and they learn differently. And as teachers, we can attest to this because we're teaching classes and all the children are not at the same level, right? So that is an implication of the text where you wanted them to all excel without having extra lessons. One other thing, and I think he point when you were saying he targeted the public schools for having extra lessons. And I read an article done by on in Chronicle where they have this SVN private school who was saying that they had extra lessons at their school and the learners were not allowed to attend any outside lessons. And the school was performing extremely well because they had like over 60 something percent pass, especially in the subject area. So again, there, that is the implication because you're saying, oh, it's just public school, when in reality, it is all schools that are offering extra lessons for weak children.
Thank you very much, Miss Cyrus. Sir Hubert, what can be concluded after reading this article on extra lessons?
Great. Thank you very much, Miss. Now, I must say a mouthful has been said about Dr. Rupnarayan article and all that was said. Now, Dr. Rupnarayan, he would have carefully and meticulously researched everything pertaining to extra lesson. With that being said, even though as teachers and as parents, we all want to see the best for our children, right? Whether or not the Ministry of Education increase the salary, extra lesson would always be a standstill because persons would want to the best schools as Miss Cyrus and Miss Bacchus would have mentioned before for the children and so forth. But the only way, therefore, though he had highlighted the area that influence extra lesson, there is need for more substantial ways of eliminating extra driven culture. Sorry. There you have it, my fellow colleagues.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Bacchus, Sir Hubert, and Ms. Cyrus for this fruitful discussion that we had today. Now, our time is up, and this will be the end of our discussion for this today on Education and You. Please join us next week, same time, same place. Have a great day.
You too, Miss.